12 Secrets to Explosive Pothos Growth Indoors. Make it thrive like never before. Hello, dear friends and fellow green thumbs. Welcome back to Earthly Delights, the place where plant lovers, garden dreamers, and indoor jungle creators unite. If you're someone who talks to your plants, checks the soil more than your inbox, or finds peace in the gentle unfurling of a new leaf, you're in the right place. Whether you're growing in a small apartment with filtered sunlight or tending to a lush balcony full of vines and herbs, we're here for you. Today, we're diving into a topic that so many of you have asked about. How do I make my pothos grow faster, fuller, and more vibrant, right here indoors? You see, pothos is one of the most forgiving houseplants, but it doesn't mean it should just survive. With the right approach, it can absolutely thrive. In this video, I'll be sharing 12 powerful, proven, and beginner-friendly secrets to help your pothos explode with growth, naturally and beautifully. So, if you've ever felt like your plant's been stuck in slow-mo, don't worry, this is your turning point. And hey, if you love plant care tips, peaceful green vibes, and unlocking nature's little miracles, make sure to subscribe to Earthly Delights so you never miss a sprout, a bloom, or a breakthrough. Let's grow together. 1. Let there be more light. You know, one of the most misunderstood things about pothos is its reputation for being low light tolerant. And while it can survive in darker corners, the truth is, it won't thrive there. In fact, if your pothos hasn't pushed out a new leaf in weeks, or worse, looks like it's just frozen in time, it may simply be begging for more light. Think of your plant like a solar-powered artist. It creates beauty only when it has enough energy. Without adequate light, your pothos doesn't get to do what it loves most, grow. So here's your first secret: move it closer to the light. But not just any light, we're talking about bright, indirect sunlight, the kind that softly spills into a room without scorching the leaves. An east-facing window is your best ally here. That gentle morning sun? It's like a warm cup of coffee for your pothos, refreshing, not overwhelming. If your space doesn't offer much natural light, don't worry, that's where modern tools come in. A small grow light can work wonders, especially in apartments or shaded rooms. With just a few extra lumens each day, your plant will start stretching its vines in gratitude. Within a week or two of this change, you'll likely notice a shift, new growth tips, richer leaf color, and that unmistakable feeling that your plant is finally waking up. Lighting isn't just a detail, it's the foundation. And now that we've lit the path, let's take the next step and talk about the pot your plant is living in. 2. The right pot equals skyrocketing growth. Now that your pothos is basking in the light it craves, let's turn our attention downward, to the very vessel it calls home. Have you ever felt stuck in a space that was too big? Overwhelmed, directionless, unsure where to even begin? Believe it or not, your pothos can feel that way too. Here's the thing. When a plant is placed in an oversized pot, it doesn't focus on growing those gorgeous leaves you're hoping for. No, it gets busy expanding its roots, reaching into all that extra soil. And while that might sound productive, it often delays any visible growth up top for months. Your plant is working, just not in the way you can see yet. Even more concerning, that larger pot holds moisture for much longer. And a pothos sitting in soggy soil is a pothos walking a fine line between thriving and root rot. A slow, silent decline. But there's good news, and it's simple. Downsize your expectations, and upsize your results. Choose a pot that's just one size bigger than your plant's current root ball. Let the roots gently hug the soil, just enough room to breathe, but not enough to get lost. This slightly root-bound condition actually encourages the plant to send its energy upward, into longer vines and fuller leaves. And while you're repotting, make sure the container has proper drainage. No matter how beautiful the pot, if excess water can't escape, you're asking for trouble. It's not about giving your plant more, it's about giving it what it needs. Once the roots feel contained and supported, the rest of the plant begins to flourish. You'll be amazed at how quickly the vines respond. And now that the foundation below is just right, it's time to make sure the environment around your plant is equally supportive. Let's talk temperature, because warmth isn't just a comfort, it's a catalyst. 3. Create a tropical paradise. Let's close your eyes for a moment and imagine where pothos truly comes from. Not a dim hallway, not a dusty shelf, but a vibrant, sun-dappled rainforest where the air is warm and the leaves stretch freely toward the sky. That's the real home of your pothos, and understanding that is key to unlocking its full growth potential indoors. You see, pothos is a tropical vine. That means it doesn't just like warmth, it needs it. When temperatures drop, even slightly below its comfort zone, it doesn't throw a tantrum, it just slows down. Quietly, almost invisibly. One day you'll realize, the growth has stopped, and the leaves have lost their luster. So here's what your plant is secretly wishing for: a cozy, stable climate, somewhere between 60 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, or 15 to 29 degrees Celsius. That's its sweet spot. Now, most homes fall within this range, but it's the extremes you need to watch. Avoid placing your pothos near chilly windows in winter or directly beside heaters that pump out dry, intense heat. And during summer, that beautiful direct sun pouring in through the glass? It can actually scorch the leaves, leaving behind dry, crispy patches that can't be undone. Instead, aim for balance. Place your plant where the temperature stays steady, no sudden cold drafts or blasts of heat. Near an east-facing window or just a few feet away from a bright spot works beautifully. And remember, warmth is not just physical, it's energetic. When your pothos feels at home, it responds with joy. You'll notice it in the way the leaves perk up, in how the vines stretch toward the light without hesitation. Growth becomes effortless. So far, you've given your pothos better light, the perfect pot, and now, its preferred climate. But even in paradise, there's one more thing every living being needs to thrive, and that's nourishment. Let's move to tip 4 and talk about feeding your plant, not just to keep it alive, but to make it flourish. Ready? 4. Feed it like you mean it. By now, your pothos is enjoying the light, the space, and the warmth it was always meant to have. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that turns passive growth into prolific growth, and that's food. Yes, just like us, plants need more than air and water to truly thrive. They need nutrients, specific ones, to build strong stems, vibrant leaves, and that glossy green glow we all adore. The problem is, many plant lovers assume their potting mix is enough. And in the first few months, it usually is. But over time, those nutrients get used up. The soil becomes depleted, like a meal long digested. And without a refill, growth slows, the leaves pale, and the once lush vine becomes a shadow of its potential. But you can change that, easily. The secret lies in consistent, gentle feeding. Every 4 to 8 weeks, treat your pothos to a balanced, water-soluble fertilizer at half or even quarter strength. Think of it not as a feast, but a steady drip of support, just enough to keep the plant energized without overwhelming its roots. And here's a lesser-known tip from seasoned growers: Epsom salt. Once every other month, mix just 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt into a gallon of water and pour it at the base of the plant. The magnesium and sulfur give your pothos that extra spark, boosting its leaf color and helping with nutrient absorption. You can even spray a diluted mix directly on the leaves for a quick pick-me-up. This isn't about dumping chemicals into your soil, it's about restoring balance, giving back what time and growth have quietly taken away. With regular, thoughtful feeding, you'll start to see results: new vines emerging, bigger leaves unfurling, a deeper green returning to the foliage. Your plant will feel alive again. Now that your pothos has light, warmth, space, and sustenance, there's still one more unexpected ingredient that can give it an extra boost, a secret your morning routine might already hold. Let's talk about tip 5. Something surprising, something caffeinated. Shall we? 5. Supercharge with coffee and tea. Here's a fun thought. While you're sipping your morning coffee, soaking in the quiet of the day, your pothos might be watching and wishing for a little sip of its own. It might sound strange at first, but plants, including pothos, can benefit from the natural compounds found in your leftover brew. That's right, used coffee grounds and spent tea leaves can do more than fill up your trash bin. They can fuel growth. How? Let's break it down. Coffee grounds are rich in nitrogen, a vital element that supports lush, leafy growth. And when used sparingly as a soil topper or mixed lightly into the potting mix, They gradually release nutrients, improving the soil's texture and feeding your plant over time. Tea leaves, especially from green or black tea, offer similar benefits. They're packed with trace minerals, and when they break down, they enrich the soil in a way that's gentle but powerful. Think of it as compost in miniature form. But here's the key: moderation. Just like us, your plant doesn't want a caffeine overdose. Sprinkle a small amount, maybe once or twice a month. Let it break down slowly, naturally. This isn't a quick fix, it's a subtle nudge in the right direction. And there's a little bonus, too. These organic materials also help retain moisture in the soil, making it more forgiving if you occasionally miss a watering day. This is one of those plant care hacks that feels a bit magical. It's sustainable, it's practical, and best of all, it invites your daily rituals to align with your plant's rhythm. You feed yourself, you feed your pothos, harmony. So next time you finish your cup, don't toss those grounds. Let your plant have a taste of your morning routine. Who knew a bit of your breakfast could help unlock a greener tomorrow? Now, we've talked light, warmth, space, and even breakfast leftovers. But what if I told you, your plant could still be held back by something invisible? It's time to dig a little deeper into the soil itself and uncover tip 6. 6. The silent killer: wrong soil pH. From the outside, your pothos might look fine. The leaves are still green. The vines still drape gently across the shelf. But if growth has plateaued, or worse, if your plant seems dull and unresponsive, there could be an invisible issue beneath the surface: soil pH. Now, I know, pH sounds a bit technical, even intimidating, but trust me, this tiny number can make a huge difference in how your plant absorbs nutrients. Think of pH like a lock. If it's too acidic or too alkaline, the roots can't access what they need, even if your soil is full of nutrients. It's like cooking a gourmet meal, and then forgetting the key to the dining room. So what does your pothos prefer? A neutral zone, somewhere between 6.1 and 7.0 on the pH scale. That's the sweet spot where the plant can easily take in magnesium, nitrogen, and other vital elements needed for vibrant, accelerated growth. But how do you know if your soil's off balance? Luckily, there's an easy solution: a simple pH meter or test strip. Available at most garden centers or online for just a few dollars. Within minutes, you'll get a reading that reveals exactly what's going on. If the number's too low, acidic, you can add a little garden lime to bring it back up. If it's too high, alkaline, mix in some compost or peat moss to gently shift it down. Adjusting your soil pH is like fine-tuning a radio station. You're eliminating static, letting the message, the nutrients, come through loud and clear. And once the pH is dialed in, that's when things click. Leaves become glossier, new shoots appear faster, your pothos stops surviving and starts thriving. With every adjustment, you're not just improving the soil, you're strengthening the connection between your care and your plant's response. That connection? It's what makes indoor gardening so personal, so rewarding. Now, as we've nourished the roots and balanced the soil, it's time to create the perfect environment around the plant. Let's move into something that often gets overlooked, but can make all the difference: humidity. 7. Humidity equals happiness. You might not see it, but your pothos feels it. The air around it matters. And if you've ever wondered why your plants seem to flourish in the spring, only to slow down in winter, the answer might not be in the soil or sunlight. It's in the humidity. Remember, pothos comes from the tropics, lush, misty rainforests where the air is thick with moisture and every breath feels like a soft cloud. Indoors, though, most of our homes, especially with air conditioners or heaters running, are dry, way too dry. So here's the deal. When the humidity drops below what your pothos prefers, generally below 50%, its leaves begin to lose moisture faster than they can replace it. That means slower growth, brown edges, and a plant that just doesn't look, well, alive. But the good news? You can fix this with just a few small tweaks. One of the simplest tricks is placing your pothos on a pebble tray, a shallow dish filled with stones and water. As the water evaporates, it creates a gentle misting effect around the plant, just enough to mimic a more humid microclimate. Think of it as your pothos's personal rainforest floor. Another easy win? Group your plants together. Plants naturally release moisture through their leaves, so clustering them creates a shared humid zone. It's like they're helping each other thrive, nature's teamwork at its best. And for those in extra dry homes or during harsh winters, consider using a small humidifier nearby. Not only will your pothos thank you, but so will your skin, your sinuses, and possibly even your sleep. The moment you raise the humidity, you'll see it. Leaves that looked tired begin to lift. New shoots emerge more confidently. Your pothos becomes more than decoration, it becomes vibrant, expressive, joyful. So don't underestimate the power of the air itself. When you care for the space around your plant, you create an atmosphere where it can flourish in every sense. And speaking of flourishing, sometimes, the best thing you can do for growth is a gentle cut. Surprising, right? Let's talk about why in tip 8. 8. The power of a little trim. It might seem a little counterintuitive at first, cutting something back so it can grow more. But in the world of plants, and especially with pothos, pruning is not an act of taking away, it's a gift. Think of it like this: every leaf, every vine on your pothos requires energy to maintain. And when your plant stretches itself too thin, long, leggy, sparse, it begins to slow down, unsure where to direct its power. That's when growth stalls. That's when your pothos needs a nudge. And that's where a gentle trim comes in. By snipping just a few inches off the ends of long, inactive stems, you're sending a clear signal to the plant. It's time to refocus. It's time to grow. The energy that once went into maintaining those lifeless ends now gets rerouted to spark new shoots, stronger, fuller, and more vibrant. The best part? Pruning doesn't just encourage bushier growth, it also helps shape your pothos. You can train it to trail elegantly over a shelf, wrap around a trellis, or cascade from a hanging basket like a waterfall of green. You're not just growing a plant, you're creating living art. And here's a bonus: those clippings you cut off? Don't toss them. Pop them into a jar of water. Place them near a window, and you'll witness one of nature's quiet miracles: roots forming. In just a few weeks, you'll have brand new baby plants ready to pot. One becomes many. So if your pothos is looking a little unruly or uninspired, don't be afraid of the scissors. Just a few thoughtful snips, and you breathe new life into the entire plant. It's a small act, with powerful results. Now that we've shaped the growth above the soil, let's take a closer look beneath the surface again. Because even with all the right steps, nothing can flourish if the roots are drowning. 9. Watering smarter, not more. If there's one thing that trips up even the most well-meaning plant lovers, it's this: watering. Too much, too little. It's a delicate dance. And when it comes to pothos, a plant that's hardy but honest, it'll tell you right away when something's not right. But let's start with a truth that surprises many new plant parents: overwatering is actually a far more common killer than neglect. That's because pothos doesn't like soggy feet. When the roots sit in waterlogged soil, they begin to suffocate. No air, no room, no strength to push out new growth. And what's worse, it sets the stage for root rot, a silent destroyer that creeps in unnoticed until the leaves turn yellow and the plant begins to collapse from the inside out. So, what's the smarter way? Instead of watering on a strict schedule, learn to read the soil. Stick your finger about an inch or two into the dirt. If it feels dry at that depth, it's time to water. If it's still a bit moist, wait a few more days. Simple as that. And when you do water, water deeply. Let it flow through the pot until it begins to drain from the bottom. This ensures the entire root system gets hydration without leaving stagnant moisture behind. Always make sure your pot has a drainage hole. A beautiful pot isn't worth it if it traps your roots in water. Another tip: in winter, when light is lower and growth slows down, reduce your watering. Your pothos isn't drinking as much, so forcing hydration only puts stress on it. Think of watering not as a chore, but a conversation. You're listening to your plant, watching for signs, responding with care instead of routine. And when you find that rhythm, your pothos will reward you. Now that we've ensured it's not drowning or drying out, let's look at how we can help it stretch upward and truly embrace its vine nature. 10. Give it something to climb. Pothos may be content trailing down a bookshelf or cascading from a hanging pot. but if you want to see it truly expand, to watch those leaves grow bigger, bolder, and more heart-shaped, then it's time to let it climb. You see, in the wild, pothos doesn't trail along the ground, it climbs. Up tree trunks, along rocks, reaching toward the light above. And when you give it that vertical space indoors, something beautiful happens. The plant remembers what it's capable of. Leaves start getting larger, vines grow faster, growth becomes more structured, more vigorous. It's like unlocking a hidden part of the plant's DNA that's been waiting for the right opportunity. So what can you do? Start with a moss pole, bamboo stake, or even a simple trellis. Anything that gives your pothos a sense of direction, a place to grip, to explore, to ascend. As the vines reach upward, they begin to attach using tiny aerial roots. You can even guide them gently at first, using plant tape or soft ties to help them find their path. And don't worry, this doesn't mean sacrificing aesthetics. A climbing pothos can become the centerpiece of a room. Picture it wrapping around a wooden pole like a green spiral staircase, or forming a lush, living curtain on a vertical wall frame. Its elegance meets nature. This small adjustment gives your plant a new sense of purpose. It's no longer just spilling, it's striving, reaching, becoming. And in that upward motion, you'll notice something deeper too. How our own growth often mirrors the plants we care for. With the right support, we don't just survive, we rise. Now that your pothos is reaching new heights, let's turn our attention back to the foundation. Because even the best plant needs a refresh every now and then. 11. Refresh the soil. Refresh its spirit. Let's take a moment and think about what soil really is, not just dirt, but a living, breathing foundation. It's where your pothos draws every bit of its strength, minerals, moisture, oxygen, the invisible essentials. And like anything that gives, it can eventually become exhausted. Over time, soil inside a pot becomes compacted, nutrients get depleted, drainage slows, and what once felt like fertile ground turns into something stale and suffocating. If your pothos has been in the same pot for over a year and suddenly stops growing, this might be the silent culprit. The fix? Simple, a fresh start. Every 12 to 18 months, give your pothos the gift of renewal. Gently lift the plant from its pot and shake away the tired, spent soil. Inspect the roots, trim away anything mushy or dead, and then repot with fresh, well-draining indoor plant mix. Look for a blend that includes peat, perlite, and maybe even a hint of cocoa coir. These ingredients keep the soil light, airy, and rich without becoming waterlogged. And don't forget, this is also your chance to recenter your plant. Adjust its position in the pot. Give it a little more space if the roots have outgrown their container. Add a bit of slow-release fertilizer if you wish. It's like renovating a home and giving your plant a whole new lease on life. You'll be amazed at how fast your pothos responds. Within weeks, new leaves appear, the color deepens, vines stretch out with a sense of ease. Refreshing the soil is more than a maintenance task, it's an act of love. It tells your plant, I see you, you've outgrown where you were. Let's give you a space that matches who you're becoming. And speaking of growth in all directions, there's one more tiny habit that can make a surprisingly big difference. One small motion that ensures your plant grows evenly, fully, and beautifully. 12. Rotate for even radiance. Sometimes, the smallest gestures make the biggest difference. You've lit the room, chosen the perfect pot, nurtured the roots, and even trained your pothos to reach new heights, but if it's always facing the same direction, it may never reach its full potential. Plants, just like people, lean toward the light, and while that's completely natural, it also means your pothos might start growing unevenly, lush and full on one side, but sparse and pale on the other. Over time, it can become lopsided, or even twist awkwardly in search of more brightness. The solution is beautifully simple. Give it a turn. Every week or two, rotate your pothos just a quarter turn. That's it. One easy motion that ensures every side of your plant gets its moment in the sun. You're not just promoting balanced growth, you're helping your plant maintain symmetry, strength, and beauty from every angle. And there's something special about this habit. It turns plant care into a ritual, a reminder to pause, to notice, to engage. Each time you rotate your pothos, You get a closer look. You'll spot new shoots, catch early signs of stress, or just admire how far your green companion has come. It's about presence, partnership, and yes, even a little poetry. Because when you rotate your plant, you're not just turning a pot. You're turning attention into care. You're shaping a living form with intention. And your pothos? It feels that. So now, with all 12 tips in place, from light to love, from soil to spirit, your pothos isn't just growing. It's glowing. And as we wrap up, let's reflect on everything you've learned, and what's truly possible when we nurture growth from the roots up. Ready for the closing? Let me know and I'll write it right away. Let your pothos shine. And there you have it, 12 simple, soulful steps that can turn your pothos from slow and sleepy to absolutely thriving. We started with the light, the very first whisper of life. We looked at the pot, the vessel of growth. We honored warmth, fed the roots, added a little morning magic with coffee and tea. We tuned the soil's chemistry, raised the air's humidity, and discovered the beauty of pruning back to grow forward. We adjusted our watering rhythm, gave our vines something to climb, refreshed the earth beneath them, and finally, with one small rotation, brought the whole plant back into balance. But beyond all the tips and tools, this journey is about more than a plant. It's about the care behind the action, the presence you bring, the moments you share with something green and alive, something growing because you made it possible. Every leaf, every root, every tiny tendril is a quiet reflection of your time, your energy, your attention, and that matters. That's beautiful. So the next time someone walks into your space and marvels at your lush, radiant pothos, know that it wasn't luck. It was you, your love, your learning, your light. And if this video helped bring even a little more green into your life, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Earthly Delights. This channel exists for you, for the caretakers, the quiet nurturers, the believers in slow magic. Leave a comment and tell me, which of these 12 tips are you going to try first? Or, if you've got a secret trick of your own, I'd love to hear it. This is a growing space. After all, until next time, keep growing, keep glowing, and remember, your home, your heart, and your hands are fertile ground. See you in the next video.